So let's jump right into the changes now. Important dates for EOY 1 through 3. So the snapshot reports will become available May 13th. And the certification deadline, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, is August 30th, right? And that is both for EOY submissions and the cohort. And please note, this year we do not have an amendment window, okay? So what that means is you want to plan to certify your data in advance of August 30th. Why? Because then you need to give yourself time to polish up your data a little bit after other folks review them, so you have your final clean data certified before or on the 30th. And we'll talk about suggested timelines a little bit later on in this session, but just keep that in mind that you do not have an amendment window this year, okay? If anytime there's a change to these dates, the CALPADS calendar page will reflect those changes, so please bookmark this link if you haven't already. In terms of changes for this year, first, the code sets changes that some of you may be aware of already, because these changes were all relayed to the field in previous months through the flashes in the listserv, but if you missed them, I strongly suggest that you go through those flashes again. So there are new course codes for next generation CSIS standards, accelerated model courses, and they're listed here. You also have a new course code for exploring computer science. We showed you these courses during last fall 1 and fall 2 trainings. The dual enrollment courses are now called college credit courses. So the title of these courses that you see listed here, they all now read college credit course instead of dual enrollment. These are just cosmetic changes, nothing in terms of the definition of the courses. The disciplinary action category code names and definitions have been modified. So these are probably the biggest changes for you for this end of year. And Flash 145 provides detailed information. If you haven't reviewed that Flash, I have the link in the notes of this slide. Please review that at your earliest, because you want to become aware of these changes. But mainly, if you look, there are 3 code values, 100, 110, and 300. There are changes to some of the names and the definitions. So for code 100, out of school has been added to the name. Before it used to just be suspension. And also there's now verbiage related to out of school teacher suspensions as defined in Education Code section 48.910. So what happened was, all these years, the expectation was always there that if you had teacher suspensions, whether it was in school or out of school, that you're supposed to report that, but that was not clear in the code 100 and 110. Now that verbiage has been added to both of these out of school and in school suspension definitions. And code 300 has also been clarified further. So if it's not an out of school or in school suspension, most likely it's other means of correction or no action, and further information has been added to clarify that for you. So the big change for discipline, including to these definitions, is also that now you are submitting discipline information for all students that is defined in Education Code 48.900 and 48.915, regardless of the duration or the outcome. So before, that concept was only applied to your special ed students, but that's no longer true. So the way you submitted your information for special ed in the previous years, which was all of the discipline information, you would now be submitting that for all of your students. And there's one other change which I will talk to you about in just a second on another slide related to discipline. All right, now I'm going to take you to the future. I'm going to point out one future change coming your way in the 2019-2020 academic year, but it's really important to point it out so that way, as you folks are building your master schedules this summer, you're aware of this. And all of you should be aware of this change already. In case you're not, all course codes will be changed in the 2019 and 2020 academic year, except for your CTE course codes, which fall in the 7,000 to 89.99, right? And this is as a result of the staff assignments and whatnot, which will mostly impact fall 2, but it will also impact your next year's EOY submission if you're submitting course completion information, right, with those new course codes. So the department has been doing roadshows related to this. Some has already passed, others are still happening. If you have not attended these roadshows, please find one that's closest to you and register so you can get detailed information about the new course codes. All right, so coming back to the current changes, okay? In terms of file format changes, the SCNR data elements, there are 6 new data elements for the post-secondary indicator, as well as the work-based learning indicators, right? For post-secondary transition status indicator, it is used for all students with disabilities who are 18 years old until they age out at 22. And it requires a grade level of 12 and an active program record of 144. Okay? It replaces the practice of using grade level US for students with disabilities 18 to 22 and receiving transitional services. I have all this verbiage in the notes also in case you're interested in that. And the work-based indicators, there are 5 of them. They've been added to the SCNR. And these fields are used as part of the Career College Readiness Indicator of the state dashboard. And LEAs should report new work-based learning indicators in 2018-19. But just keep in mind, they will not be incorporated in the 2019 CCI. Okay? And the counts of the work-based learning indicators will be visible in reports 15.1 and 15.2. We'll talk a little bit about that later. So if you have a yes indicator for any of these, then you will see those counts in new columns in 15.1 and 2. Okay, so the other change that I was talking about related to student discipline, this is related to a submission change. So student discipline is now also required for all of your NPS schools, and Flash 145 again has more information about that. So you do need to submit their student discipline this year. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the report changes. For EOY 2 snapshot reports 5.1, 5.3, and 8.1, which is for end of year 3, and there are a couple of versions of that. It will now include a new filter and new column for your program code 192, which is Armed Forces Family Member Counts. So you will have visibility of this program count on all of these reports now. The county report 5.4, which is homeless report, now contains a revision status filter. So before, counties could only see your homeless counts after you certified your data. But now they have the ability to see whatever homeless counts you have prior to certification. But the way to do that for them is to go to the filter and select revision status. So this is your pre-certification homeless counts that will be visible on this 5.4 report. Okay, this is for the county level. So for report 7.2, discipline incidents, student list, it will have a new column for disciplinary days counts. And report 14.1 and 14.2, so new filters and columns have been added for these 2 reports to better align these reports with DataQuest and California dashboard definitions of chronically absent. Okay, so on 14.1, you will see a couple of new filters, one for DataQuest, another one for dashboard, and for EOY 3, 14.2, you will see 2 new columns. These will have counts for chronically absent that matches DataQuest counts, and another one for accountability, the dashboard. For cohort reports, as I mentioned earlier, 15.1 will have 5 new filters to include the new work-based learning indicators, and 15.2, which is the detail report, it will have 7 new columns, 5 for the work-based learning indicators and another 2 for the CLOB biliteracy and UC-CSU requirements med counts. These changes are explained in much more detail in the cohort trainings that are happening right now. If you will be working on cohort, I strongly recommend that you attend these training sessions to find out more about the details of these changes. Let me also mention here the report mapping guides. They are not standalone documents anymore. They are now part of the CALPADS user manual, and I believe the mapping guides for end of year reports will become available over the next couple of weeks, maybe, I think by mid-May. So just keep checking this URL, and when you go to the actual report sections of the user manual, you will see those mapping guides. For certification, we have a new fatal certification, Cert 067. It's not new, you have seen this for other submissions, but it is new for end of year 3 this year. So if you have a student that is missing the English language acquisition status on census day, the Cert 067 will trigger. It will also trigger for any students with a TBD status on census day, okay? Cert 100, which is a warning, it has been reactivated when there's no enrollment for a course section. You will see a Cert 100 warning, okay? So anytime you submit your course section records, make sure you also submit your student course section enrollments for those course sections. Cert 127 has been modified. The severity changed from a warning to a fatal, and it was also consolidated with Cert 125, as a result of which it has been retired. So your in-school and out-of-school suspensions will be validated now. So anytime you report your students with suspensions in your stats file, the system is also looking for related discipline records. If you're missing your in-school and out-of-school discipline records, you will get a fatal Cert 127. So pay attention to this, folks, okay? Most likely you will come across this. So Cert 125 warning, again, retired. And then Cert 188 fatal has been disabled this year. It is for invalid most severe offense code. So those are all of your certification changes. And again, the CALPADS error list document will provide more detailed information about these errors and other validation and certification errors and resolution tips. Okay, so those were all the system changes.